right. So before Dr. Asari joins, I would give just a quick introduction about him. Of course, he would also have the opportunity to talk about himself to us when he joins. So Dr. Asari also started his studies, bachelor's in UCC, and then he proceeded to study masters on scholarship at a university in Finland, and then had two concurrent PhD from a university in Germany on that scholarship, and also a University of Cape Coast, where he currently lectures. Dr. Asari, if you saw the last flyer I made about him, has two PhDs already and has three postdoc experiences. Currently, the current one is in an institution in Vienna, in Austria, and he has the contract for 3 years. So he will be the best person to talk to us about postdoc experience and his PhD experiences, how he even managed to um, have two concurrent PhDs when some of us struggle to be successful with one. So I think this will be an experience to look out for. And on this note, I would let our sister Rhoda to tell us about her journey so far to her current position as a postdoc person.
Thank you so much, Enoch, for your kind introduction and also for this opportunity to share my experience. And in the next 1 to 2 minutes, I will boast about myself a bit.
You are allowed. That is why you are here. So please boast about yourself. I mean, boast in a way such that you'll motivate some of us here to aspire higher.
Okay, thank you so much. So, as you rightly said, I had my undergraduate study from UCC in human biology in the department of in the School of Biological Science. And after that, I think I was a teaching assistant for about for a year. And I also was still at the School of Nursing for 2 years. I was struggling to land a permanent position at the department. So during that time, even before, um, so because we are talking about scholarship, so before I graduated from my undergraduate, I was already visiting campus, listening to lectures, how to secure a scholarship. You know, there are a lot of flyers around on how to write which scholarships to look out for. So during my national service, I started application because I knew that was what I wanted. So, and that was also why I went to the School of Nursing for my teaching assistantship because I already was in biological sciences and I wanted to go to a position that will put me in other, make me more advantageous than my other colleagues, you know. So then I went to the School of Nursing because it was limited in terms of researchers and all that because most of them are in the clinics. So I was there for a while, and during that time, I started application, and it was very difficult for me because I didn't have the right tools for the application. For example, I didn't even have a laptop. So then when I start an application, then I rely on some of my friends or on the institute's computers. And at the end, I never get to finish any application. And at the time, after 1 year, when I gained so much experience in the application, I realized that I didn't even have a passport, you know. So then I had to, uh, I was close to getting a scholarship, but uh, just when I was ending the application, I realized, oh, I need a passport to finish this application. So then I had to step back for a while and then reorganize myself. And I also had the opportunity to work for one professor who was visiting from the US, and she was a Fulbright scholar. So then she reviewed all my CVs and all my letter of motivation. And I had a friend who had also just graduated as a best student, overall best student as a Commonwealth scholar. And he also showed me uh, some of the scholarship because I was not a first class student. So then there are some scholarships I was aiming for, which already because of my class puts me in a disadvantaged position. So then I have to aim for the ones who doesn't care about your class and just look at your works. So then I had to do all those things. And finally, I was able to, so for my master's, I was able to secure the Korean government scholarship. So I was a KGSP scholar from 2015 to 2018. But before then, I had also gotten the KGSP a year before that. But during the shortlisting for the interview, so they asked me, why am I choosing life science? So apparently, I didn't even read about the program. I was so desperate that I chose life science, and I didn't know for them, life science was zoology and uh, plant ecology. And so then she asked me, why are you not in medical science? And she cannot cancel my choice and put her choice for me. So based on that, I was disqualified. But then I knew, oh, then the next year I'm close to getting the scholarship, you know. So then I put all my things together. And in 2015, I had the Korean government scholarship for 3 years. So 1 year Korean studies, and the 2 years was for my master studies. And at the end of my master, so when I was 1 year done with my theory, yeah, the theory aspect of the master's, and I was in the lab and finishing or starting my thesis. I started looking for a PhD position because of my prior experience. So I knew it's not something that's going to come to me in a month or so. So then I had a whole year and I attended a lot of interviews upon interviews. And if I'm not exaggerating, I can say I made more than 50, close to 100 applications. And at the end of the day, I had, if I look at my online, uh, my messages, I had about 15 interviews and a lot of rejections, several rejections back to back. And at the end of the day, I I was shortlisted for about eight or six of them, and then I have to choose based on my preference and also how much some of them I even traveled for the interviews and I did all the processes. But at the end of the day, I remember there was one which I traveled from Korea to Hanover in Germany, and it was almost more than 23 hours flight. And I got there, and the professor who wanted to match with me, uh, I didn't match. I felt like we were not very compatible because on the spot he made me write exams. He did a lot of crazy things, and I knew this is not for me. So then I had to make a difficult decision not to accept even though I didn't have any position at that time, but it was all learning process for me. And at the end, when I got this scholarship, which I got for my PhD, I had about four other interviews which were overlapping. So then I have to prioritize two of them, and because I cannot be at the same place at the same time. And I was 100% sure I was going to get this one because of my prior experience. So I knew this was for me. And so then I was privileged to come for the interview and everything went smooth as I I expected. And so I had a PhD funding from the International Hemodiabetes School for Diabetes. And this we do in collaboration with University of Alberta in Canada. And the scholarship is for 3 years with 1 year extension. It's not more of a scholarship. It's like I think Dr. Sari knows, and you also know. So in Europe, it's mostly more of like a work contract, but it's still funding. So then I got this funding opportunity for 4 years. And my supervisor also gave me another 6 months of extension because my thesis was not yet done. And during the last 8 months, getting to the close of my PhD, I started looking for a postdoc position, you know, and I was privileged that the second one I applied to, I fit exactly what they were looking for. And yeah, so I got the postdoc position and I've been working for 1 year now, even though I don't have my PhD yet. And I'm looking forward to defending my thesis next year, God willing. But during my PhD one, I remember when I went for my postdoc interview, one thing that stood out to them was that during my PhD, I was also able to secure a short grant for myself under the Maria Curie um,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
grant.
Fellowship.
Yeah, so then it was a big disadvantageous for me in this step, and this is where I am now, and I'm looking forward to sharing my experiences and answering some of the questions. Thank
Thank,
you.
thank you very much, Rhoda. We'll come back to you with some questions, so stay tuned. And now Dr. Sari is here, so we're gonna open the floor for him to also take us through his academic journey. I mean, from UCC, translating to masters in Finland, and then we would be more focused on the PhD aspect, but we want to also get the background where you're coming from. So please unmute yourself and then tell us your story.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Boateng, and good evening to you all. I apologize for coming late. It was due to circumstances beyond my control. All right. So as Dr. Boateng rightly said, I had my first degree here in UCC where I teach now, and transitioning to Europe for my master's wasn't an easy one. Just as Rhoda said, initially I thought that experience was unique to me. When I was applying for my master's, I think the first year, it was during my national service that I started chasing for scholarships for my master's. I applied for over 100 scholarships to different universities. And during the national service period, I had none. For the first year of over 100 applications, I had none. It was a bit, for the want of a better term, disheartening
Discouraging.
and discouraging. But then, for those who have been following this trajectory, you realize that for every step, there is something you learn. And then the next step, it is likely that you don't repeat the mistakes you made in the first step, right? So in the second attempt, I focused on about 50 schools. And just before that, I realized that for the first time when I was doing the applications, especially in the European schools, they require language proficiency. And so most of them, you may have to write either TOEFL or IELTS. And some are a bit open, but then they have a clause in the application that says that if you have these language certificates, it's a plus. They put it there for a purpose. Someone who has that, and let's say you have the same GPA, for example, the person has a big advantage over you because of that. So during the second year, also, I didn't have the money to do that. So I didn't write anyways. So I applied for like 50 schools in the second attempt. And then God being so good, I had about 3 scholarships at a go for my master's, one at Uganda, Makerere. It's one of the best universities in Africa. And then I had one in the UK, Westminster University, that they wanted to offer me 1-year MA program. And then I had one in Finland. And then I had to sit down and really weigh the options and situate myself where I think I would develop myself better as an emerging academic. And so I settled on going to Finland, where I had to study my master's for 2.5 years. But they also gave me a clause, what I was running away from. Now you have the scholarship, but on condition that you write an English proficiency exam. So I think it was just about 2 weeks to the close of the whole thing, and it's either you get it or you forfeit the scholarship. So I had to quickly register without learning anything, how the whole thing is. I just watched some online tutorials, and luckily for me, I wanted to write IELTS, but it was fully booked at the time. So there was no space within that time that I needed to write. So I quickly had to switch to TOEFL, and I got a space within the period. So I went to Accra to write. And God being so good, I got exactly the grade point that they wanted. They wanted 80, and I got 80, not even 80.5, 80.1. I got 80. So that was how come I was able to get to the University of the Arts in Helsinki for my master's. Now, one thing we don't know is that for some of the scholarships, they will tell you it's a partial scholarship. And in most cases, because we are new in the whole venture, we don't take those ones up. We think we cannot match up with, paying the rest of the fees and things like that. But what they will not tell you is that when you enter, once you get in, there are other internal scholarships you can access. Mine was a full scholarship anyways, but then I went in and I realized there was something they call academic excellence scholarship. So after first year, I applied, and it's based on your performance, and I got it in addition to what I was getting already. So all these things exist. So that was how I got to Finland for my master's. But one thing is very crucial, whether master's or PhD, in the application process. Your CV and then your cover letters. You really have to design your CV in a way that is attractive. I sit here and then I receive some CVs, and I ask myself whether we really understand the power of having a decent CVs. And so all these things are very important. If you are lucky, some of the universities will give you a template, and then you need to fill in all these, kind of information. Others, you have to do it yourself and, be ready to do it. One thing I have not said, linking to my master's program and why I chose Finland, was that I was already working with a global musicians group that it was a networking kind of thing. So in most cases, we forget to really take advantage of networking. So with the Global Musicians Network, they had come to Ghana at the time I've forgotten the year. I think just at the time I was 7 as a national service person. And then I volunteered to just help with the network in Ghana. And the work was really tedious, not knowing some of them have noticed me. And so when I got the admission, when I applied, for those of us in the performing arts, the application process is a whole thing. You go through that. When you are shortlisted, you have to audition, prove yourself that you are you can do this, So you audition, and I was supposed to travel to Finland for the audition. I didn't have the financial backing to do that. But because of that network and the work I did as a volunteer, and they recognized me. And so when the opportunity came, there was another network meeting in Tanzania at the time. And so they said, once you are in Africa, we can get you a free ticket to Tanzania to audition. And so because of that network, I got the chance to travel to Tanzania for my audition without paying a cedi. So networking is also good, aside having all these CVs and cover letters and all that. And then the whole application process. Some of us will wait until the deadline before we want to rush and quickly. We think we are so smart. Sometimes we are not so smart. Sometimes we are not. You just have to have time. If this is what you really want, then you really have to have time to do that. And that was a bit about
Masters.
my master's. Transitioning into my PhD. After my master's, I decided that I've gained so much knowledge from where I was coming from to where I ended, and the kind of things I saw first time in Europe and in an European university. The Sibelius Academy is one of the best music academies in the world. And so it changed my whole perception about scholarship in music. So I decided not to stay, but to come back home and share the knowledge that I've gained. And that is why I came back. But just when I was coming back, I had enrolled in a pre-PhD program. They will prepare you for like 1 year before you can get to the enrollment year. So I had enrolled in that. And so I've gained a lot of experience in preparing PhD proposals and things like that. Just when I landed in Ghana, there was a new initiative by the DAAD in collaboration with the University of Cape Coast and the University of Maiduguri in Nigeria. So I seized that opportunity. And then again, for me, I applied in my former university in Finland, and then I applied for this DAAD scholarship as well. And I got both. At the time, I had to weigh the options again. Check the stipend if I'm to stay in Finland. The stipend was just around the same figure as I will be in Ghana, but I was comparing my expenses in Finland and my expenses in Ghana. It's way below that. So I decided to stay. But this scholarship also had the offer where you have visiting stays in Germany and things like that. And that was how I was able to combine these ones as well. And for that one also, I had to write a proposal, go for an interview, defend what I have written, and then demonstrate that I am able to do that. Maybe for some applications, you may not necessarily need to attend a defense in that sense, but for some you'd have to. And so I put all of these things together, but I realized that transitioning from a master's to a PhD and then in seeking for scholarship, one thing is very key. That is your level of academic, whether you are able to demonstrate that you can do the work. PhD is not a joke. And so one of the things we overlook is at least 1 or 2 publications. It's an added advantage as a master's holder transitioning into a PhD. You need at least a publication. If you have 2 or 3, you have advantage. One thing I learned about my own life is that in Ghana, we don't really concentrate on that unless maybe you are at a PhD level before your mind is really on that. But it is a good practice. Even as a first degree person, it is important that you attempt some publications and other things. All these things come up together to shape you for winning scholarships. I think questions will come and then we will go deep.
Exactly. So basically, because of the topic we are treating, I like that when you talk, you emphasize certain key points, and that is what I want our listeners to draw. I want to draw our listeners' attention to. We're talking about positioning yourself for attractive PhDs and then postdoc. And whether it is a PhD or a postdoc, what they are telling us here apply. So we should take key note of the points they are raising here. Some of you leave school and you cannot even contact your supervisors or your lecturers for recommendation letters, and yet you want to go further in your academic journey outside. Recommendation letters play significant role. So that network that he talked about is a key point we should note. Apart from the numerous effort you will put into application. Myself, when I tell people I apply for over 200 masters between 2012 to 2014, they might think that I'm exaggerating. But when you people started talking, I knew that my story is not unique to me only. So when somebody approaches me, I want a scholarship. And sometimes even if you evaluate their credentials, their transcripts, the quality of their CV and stuff, and you know that this person has a long way to go. And sometimes I wish that even this talk, we are talking to maybe level 100, level 200 people, right? Because the reason being that you have to build yourself right from the beginning of your higher academic journey to position yourself well. Excuse me, but if you finish a study program with the third class and you are looking for master's scholarship, and there is another person with first class competing for the same scholarship, even if they put the two of you, if they put you to judge the two of you, you are going to choose the one with the first class probably over yourself. So the requirement is very stringent. Scholarships are free, and because they are free, there are a lot of people all over the world looking for the same, and you must stand out in certain aspect. If you are not standing out, like who said, Rhoda said that she is not, she wasn't a first class student. If she wasn't a first class student, but she stood out in her, um, I would say, professional development by aligning herself with the nursing school and still in the nursing school at the University of Cape Coast and still remaining in the academia. When I apply as a research and a teaching assistant, I have a higher possibility of being admitted because they know that I am still within the academia and I'm just transitioning to a higher degree than probably somebody who we finished, had a first class, and then went to do something unrelated to what he studied and yet had first class. And when I was here, I had that in our class 2012, we had 3 people with the first class. The first person, when we finished, he got a scholarship to go to UK to do masters. He's with the Bank of Ghana now. And the two other first class people, as at last year, one of them was still contacting me to find him a master's study. Because when we finished, he was a teacher. And whilst me, I was also a teacher, but whilst I was doing teaching assistantship at UCC to get some national service allowance, he was going back to teaching to get full salary and stuff. And then I leveraged my teaching assistantship from UCC to have master's scholarship. And then from master's, I transitioned to PhD and stuff. So there are a lot of factors, a lot of things to put into place to make sure that you will stand out. Even if you are not standing out with your GPA, you can stand out in a certain way that will make you have a competitive advantage over the numerous people who will be seeking for scholarship. And trust me, even sometimes when you are not asking for full funding, the requirement to be admitted into international universities are quite strict and stringent. And so you still have to prove yourself and stuff. So I will just come back to what Dr. Azari was talking, and then I will later go to Rhoda. You spoke about proposal writing. And I also know that there are several of PhD positions, especially in the Australia, New Zealand, and then Canada, and some European countries where you need to add proposal to you. What must one consider in developing a research proposal that would be attractive to a potential supervisor? And of course, you're already in the field. You're already a lecturer and a potential supervisor. What advice would you give to your future PhD students how to draft, what to consider in drafting their proposal? You are muted, please.
Yeah, sorry for that. Thank you very much. Every proposal should be tailored to meet the necessary requirements by the institution that you are writing to. In most cases, I have also reviewed some proposals, and then you realize that people just copy and paste without even looking at the rubrics of what is expected from one institution to the other. So that is the first point. But for your proposal to be attractive, one key important thing is to have a very, very catchy title. Your title is the first point of interest for any reviewer. Sometimes we just put in titles and you read and you are like, there's nothing interesting about this, you know. But the title should be that which will force someone to be interested in looking at what follows next, you know. Sometimes the abstract, right? But if the title is not interesting, people do not mostly bother to even look at it, and they will just throw your application somewhere. And it's a fact that reviewers don't have the time to read the 20-page application. No reviewer does that. It is a fact. But once you have a very well-tailored title, very catchy and speaks to a lot of issues that are trendy, then it is likely that, you know. And then one other thing is the whole proposal. What is it about? What do you want to study? What do you want to do? Sometimes we think we sit at our own comfort zone and think that what we are interested in, others should also fancy that and then spend their monies on what we think is good for us. No, somebody is putting his money into what you want to do. So also think about that person. Go to the funder, the website, read about what they do, what interests them. And in most cases, they list a number of things that the institutions are interested in. And these days, there are a lot of areas where almost every institution is interested in. And that could, you know, we can leverage that to give us, you know, that upper hand in winning some of these scholarship opportunities, especially for postdoc. Right. So issues around sustainability, for example, environmental sustainability, climate change, issues around gender, LGBTQ plus, or whatever, you know, all these digitalization, these are strong topical areas that most funding and funders, you know, really look out for in our proposals. So you don't sit in your comfort zone and say, I want to just investigate Abuachre Festival. What does the international community need that for? Abuachre Festival, and so what? Tie it to some of these trendy issues. Conflict resolution, you know, those kind of things. So once you are able to put these things together, it makes your proposal a bit attractive. And then we should try to avoid unnecessary jargons in our writing. Sometimes we write using a lot of jargons as if we want to impress people. Sometimes it's a turn off for most reviewers. It's a totally waste of time. So try as much as possible to avoid jargons.
Not just a turn off for reviewers. I also believe and think that sometimes the jargons we use in our, or the parlance, the word parlance we use in our local setting does not even resonate the same way with the external reviewer or reader. So it is important to be more international than being a local person in when drafting your proposal. What I would like to add to what Doc has said is that maybe the founders might be different from your supervisor, your potential supervisor. You have to read their work. You have to read their work. You have to check how they write. They have published works and stuff. So you have to look out for some of them. You go to their site, like he said, you find the person you want as a potential supervisor. If it's a faculty member, read their research line, read their research interest, read their current research that they have funds for, and how they go in and how your research interest can fit into. You don't necessarily have to do exactly what they are doing, but to fit your research interest into what they are doing will give you a competitive advantage. And then you must think of something novel. That is what he was saying when he was giving an example of climate change. There are a lot of topics in climate change. But for example, these days, one of the trending areas is leveraging AI in solving most of these problems. So you don't have to, if you are coming with something, a title or a proposal, that does not bring out anything new that people have worked on 20 years ago, 15 years ago and stuff, that is unattractive to anybody. And they will not. And like he said, they also look at maybe some part of your methodology, your abstract, the ending of your introduction, and maybe your conclusion, and they decide. So you must have a way to convince your potential supervisor, your potential employer, be it postdoc or um, um, PhD, that you are well fitted for the position you are applying for, and should be given a chance to join the table. That on the proposal. I will revert to Rhoda and ask her. She made mention of attending several interviews for her PhD position, and I would ask her to briefly tell us in 2 minutes what she would advise um, potential PhD seekers to prepare for, generally not in that particular limited study area, when they are getting ready for interviews or for their PhD application interviews. What preparation should go into such interview?
Well, I think I agree with Dr. Saru when he says that we should read the website. So for me, when I have an interview, I read and read and read and read.
Mhm.
And before you go for the interview, there are lots of maybe um, let me talk about Europe. For example, if you come to Europe in the field of science and then you come for the interview, it's not only you and the professor. You meet all the lab members, you meet all the postdocs, you meet a lot of people, other supervisors are there. And the supervisor might not have a funding, but might be scouting you for someone else because it's a collaboration. So you have to read about the whole group um,
Join.
you want to join. And for me, sometimes when I see that it's highly competitive, I sometimes reach out to someone in the group already. So I see that maybe Enoch is a postdoc in the group. I can write to you and say, oh, I'm interested in joining your group. I read your paper. This is very interesting. See you next week for my interview. Like, so when I come there, it's easy for me to communicate because when I see you and you say, oh, you are Enoch, oh, you remember me, we talked. And then I have something to start a conversation. And then we talk and talk and talk. And also when you go for the interview, so I will say before, during, and after. So during the interview, you have to be proactive. So what I mean is that in Ghana, because most of the people on the call are from Ghana, in Ghana, when you are uh, maybe Dr. Sarah is a lecturer, so it's easy for me to nod in agreement to whatever he says. And then we are easily intimidated by our professors and our supervisors. They wish that we interact more, but unfortunately, because of our cultural background. So I think for me, one of the problems I had to forego was dealing with this unnecessary humbleness. I didn't know how to sell myself. So the moment I say one or two good things about myself, I feel like, oh, maybe I'm being boastful, but the person doesn't know me. So the person is taking whatever information from what I am telling him or her. So you have to learn how to sell yourself effectively. So for example, I attended a lot of interview in Europe, and what happens, especially in the field of science, is that we don't usually write proposals
Yeah.
because the supervisor already have the funding for a particular uh,
Project.
he has read the project. So you are employed into a project. So, and you're not the only person. If we need two people, we invite three people for the interview. And all the three of you come at the same time. So you see that this is my competitor. And so when you get there, you have to learn how to sell yourself. So for me, what I do is that I intentionally befriend the people in the lab. We talk about things that might not be, it's a short meeting, but you have to talk about what you want at the same time, try to relate. Sometimes they make some joke and then you are so serious, you don't, because they are not looking for someone who is already intelligent. They want someone who can also fit well in their lab culture, in the group, or whatever. The supervisor knows that PhD is very hard, and then he wants someone he can relate with. So then you have to also be able to relate with this person who is employing you. In that, it's the same as attending any job interview. So for me, when I got there, I mingled and I mingled and I mingled. So I talked to several supervisors, but when it's time for me to choose, I don't choose everybody there. It also shows that I don't know what I want. So, for example, I went for the last place where I had my PhD. I had about 4 or 5 supervisors approach me that they want to scout me for their group. And all of them, I told them, well, I have interest in another group, so let's see how it goes. You know, I, because I have attended several interviews and I had a bit of confidence. So then I didn't want them to feel that I'm so desperate for the position. So I think during the interview, you have to really network well because when I have attended a lot of interviews with a lot of Africans, and then they don't network.
Mm-hmm.
They are just sitting there. And there was this guy, he had a really nice presentation, but at the end, he was not picked. And he was even first class. And he had a lot of good, if I check his LinkedIn, he has a lot of good papers and all that. But the problem was that even for me, I feel he was too timid. So we have to learn how to interact during the interview. And after, when you join the lab also, you also have to then see how, I think that will be another webinar that maybe Enoch will
Yeah.
do that. But one thing I also want to talk when we talk about networking and also preparing ourselves, as he was talking about cover letter and CV. So,
Okay, I wanted to come to the cover letter
okay.
as the last question from me, and then I would let the other people to come in because I had a section on even how to write a standout CV, and I was going to have a session on cover letter. Cover letters, whether for job, postdoc, PhD, are very important, and I feel like you should own it. You should own what you write in the cover letter. And sometimes when they question you about it, you should be able to prove that you are the owner of everything that you are saying in it. But what do you think would make a cover letter stand out in either PhD application or postdoc application? And this plays 1 minute, and then Dr. Sari would also give us a 2 minutes talk on that one. Then I will open the floor for our audience to ask their questions.
Okay, for me, I think there is no bad cover letter.
Mm-hmm.
So every cover letter, depending on, as you said, if you own it, it's just your cover letter. But I want Dr. Asari to talk about the content, but I want to talk about when you want to send the cover letter out.
Okay.
So what we do, what I have witnessed from my PhD till now is that everybody who applies to our lab and the person is from Africa, even if I'm not in the group, I get to see the person's application because the supervisors feel like they don't know about the education in Africa. So sometimes they will reach out to someone in the lab to assess. And currently, when I was going for maternity leave, I wanted to employ someone as a student assistant. And first, I sent to the Ghanaian student page to give them advantage to apply for this position. And I had about 4 people applying. And you know what they all did? They just sent me officially to my supervisor, the professors, everyone. They just forwarded their CV and cover letter to us. No introduction letter, nothing. And the person who made the effort to write the introduction letter, he just wrote, here is it. Is there something more I can do or something? And then my supervisor walked to my desk and he told me, who is this person? The person is, don't contact him or her, you know. So you have the good cover letter or whatever, but you have to learn how to send the letter. So the cover letter that you have written and the CV, when you are sending it out to the person, you also have to write an email. And so I think maybe they can join your webness to learn how to also write good emails when they send out these cover letters to the people to help them.
I will not cut you. I have a niece who is a nurse or a midwife in Ghana, and I applied for school for her, and she got admission, and I asked her to reply for in Canada, and there was a message I asked her to reply. When I saw the reply she sent, because I had access to her email, I got angry because she wrote like she is testing her colleague or her friend, like, no format, no even starting a sentence with small letters and stuff. I'm like, come on, you don't know how to write email, and you want to study abroad. And let me tell you, I have a colleague from college who is teaching English. He has a bachelor's. He asked me to apply for master's study for him. I got the documents. I started application. Then I asked him to write an email and stuff of something to me, and he couldn't write the email. And then I refunded his money to him and stopped the application, because even when the application goes through and stuff, I don't feel this person will survive the stress and the requirements to study at that level if you can't write a simple email and send it appropriately. So this is a very important point that Rhoda has brought up. But like, this is not the main focus now. It's the important part of putting yourself out there for a PhD and a postdoc, but probably we have another time to look deeper into these areas. Dr. Sari, if you are there, unmute yourself and turn on your camera and now tell us briefly what a desirable cover letter might look like in short, in simple terms, because
Okay.
we would have another section to look into CV again, cover letters, and then this personal statement and statement of purpose. Maybe we can bring some examples and in that session. But for now, just a
Okay.
brief overview.
So I think basically you should have a very clear structure and write with a professional tone. You know, a cover letter basically should not be more than 1 page. It
Agreed.
should have an introduction, one paragraph, a body that talks about really the specific role or the program you want to, apply for, and all of those things, your skills and experiences with
Exactly.
others. And then a conclusion part that kind of summarizes
Summarizes it.
everything that you have written. And I think maybe showcase a bit of your achievements also, what you have done, what
Very
you have been
necessary. Very,
achieved,
very necessary.
and all that. And I think basically, because we will have a unique,
Yeah.
cater session for that, I think the structure should be very well tailored and that. But just a little bit on the interview thing that Rhoda spoke about. Very, very great points. I wanted to add just 2 things. I have sat on panels for interviews, and then you realize that people lie. Please don't lie. Stay truthful to yourself. Get yourself abreast with the field, the developments in the field. And that shows that you have read, you are current with the issues around the field. Thank you.
Thank you. And like Rhoda said, I'm just adding to it that with the interview, sometimes they are looking at somebody who would also fit into the lab culture, somebody who is sociable and all those stuff. They will not assess you formally, but they will let your own colleagues who are already in the lab assess you. So the way you interact with them during such opportunity, you should. In my job, where I work currently, when we went for interview, or when people come for interview after we have joined the team for some time, After my boss has conducted his interview, he will bring the person to the office to interact with us and stuff. And then when the person has left, he would come and ask us, do we feel that this person can be part of the team and stuff? And our opinion really matter. So it's important to take note of the unofficial aspect of the interview, which you might consider not important. It's not only about how well you read and prove yourself there, but also how sociable, how best you can relate with your team, because sometimes it can be a teamwork that you have to
Uh,
get involved.
Enoch, before you go to the question and answers, I wanted to
Before
uh,
then, please, if you have a question and you don't want to speak, you can put it in the chat section and I would ask on your behalf. However, after this, you can put up your hand if you have a question, and I will call you according to how your hand you raise your hand, or the order in which your hands are raised. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So because we are talking about positioning yourself, for me, I don't have experience in the humanities and other parts, but for the sciences and the medical sciences, I have a bit of experience there. And one thing I would say is that getting a position starts with, if you want a PhD now, you have to take your master's study serious now. So, in Ghana, people are very lazy when it comes to research work. So you are at the end of your master thesis, your master studies, they give you opportunity to conduct an independent research. But then you decide to go for questionnaire or a group project, the easy ones because you get good grades. You will get the grade, but frankly speaking, now the world is changing, especially in the field of science. They want more researchers. It's not about just learning and reading, abstract reading. You have to be able to apply it. And how do we know that you are qualified for that position? It's based on your research. Even if you don't have a paper, take the pen and do a thesis. There are a lot of people for our institutes now, there are a lot of opportunities. You don't pay fees. You just get your block account and you are enrolled. But all the people from Ghana, unfortunately, most of them don't qualify. For example, maybe you did physiology in UCC or in um, K University. You had opportunity to conduct a thesis, but then you said, "Oh, I opted for, I don't know, lab rotation or something." Then you are not fit for academia. Then maybe you should go to the industry or go somewhere, because for academia, you have to show your
Research.
work by writing something. So even if your paper is not good, just write something and don't opt for the lower one, because at the end of the day, it will go against you. And also, if you are choosing the courses, sometimes once in a while, you can take your phone and go online to check what people are looking for in a PhD, for example, in sciences, and intentionally choose some courses or take some courses seriously to position you for a future position. Because now, when we talk about global diseases, cancer, metabolic diseases, cardiovascular, so if you want to do a research and maybe you do a research in sickle cell, I'm not belittling it, but it's something of Africa. It's not important to the person in Europe or the person in there somewhere else. So then you have to choose topics which will make you globally accessible and to have a lot of wider options to choose from. So that is what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Before Abigail Nyako, I would want to say this, and this is because of what Rhoda said. Today I had an opportunity to interact with one lady who is doing teaching assistant at Ken University, and she doesn't want to pursue PhD now, but the US schools she can pursue PhD. She wants to come, and I advise her, why do you think local? Why are you thinking only Ghana is the possibility for you? There are a lot of opportunities out there that if you position yourself well, you will not be limited to Ghana market alone and talk about unemployment in Ghana and stuff. So be competitive. Apart from what Rhoda said, something about data analysis is key. Sometimes they may not even teach you these things in the university, the normal courses in the university. You would have statistics as a course, but the practical aspect of using softwares and stuff to do the statistics itself are lacking. We have internet. The same internet you are using to attend this webinar, you can use this same internet to access some free courses. Even if it is without certification, you gain the knowledge, you apply the knowledge in certain field, and when they ask you a question to talk about it, you can talk about it. When they see that you have these skills, these days they want somebody who can use R for statistics, depending on which field you're looking at. Somebody who can use maybe SPSS, somebody who can use Python and stuff. And when you have these skills alone, it gives you a very competitive advantage. And that is the more reason why I was telling you that I wish we have these kind of talks to level 100 students, or even secondary school graduates who are about to enter the university. So they will be well informed about program choices. They will be well informed about how well they should take their studies and stuff. Over here, Indians are almost taking over the country. If you go to Australia, Indians are there. New Zealand, Indians are there. Indians, China, USA, UK,
Germany, they are
Germany. You
everywhere.
all know that. Recently there was a prime minister in UK who was an Indian. That's not where I'm going into. But these people are learning. These people are learning, and they are taking their IT skills very good. So very good. So it is very important to try to add to what you do in the traditional classroom or the traditional university, add to it to make you update, to make you stay updated, and also to give you an advantage when it comes to the application for further studies. Abigail Nyako, please unmute yourself and talk. And the person who is logging out, thank you for joining. Probably in subsequent meetings, we will have you join again.
Thank you, Doug. Good evening, everyone. My name is Abigail Nyako, and I'm a past student of AIMS Ghana. And thank you for the presentation you've given us. I have some few questions that I want to seek for clarification. The first one is with the English proficiency. I've acquired my master's and I was applying for a PhD, and in one of it, they asked of English proficiency. But you people touched on that, and I wanted to ask that at that time, you see universities give out English proficiency. So at that time, couldn't you have gotten it from the university that you have to go and write TOEFL and all that? Because I had mine from my first degree after school. I went for my English proficiency. So I decided to use that in my application. I don't know whether if it's right to use that one or I still have to go ahead and get the TOEFL. And the second one is, I want to know the difference between the cover letter and motivation letter. Is it the same? When do we use cover letter? When do we use motivation letter if you are being asked? And the last one is, should your master's thesis relate directly to your PhD that you want to do? Like the topic you chose or what you studied or what you did in your thesis for your master's, should it be directly related to your PhD that you want to do? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I will start with the second question. What was the second?
Cover letter versus
Yeah,
motivation.
so that one we would like we said, have another session on it, so we don't want to prolong this. So please, Abigail, stand by for the next session that we will talk about cover letters, motivations letter, and other stuff. The third question, let me tell you my experience, and I think I'm the best person to answer this question, but the other people will come in. Me, I did Bachelor's of Agriculture in UCC, and then I came here to study a Master of Science in Natural Resource and Environment, which was a little bit related to agriculture, but not holistically. And then after that, I transitioned from this agriculture and natural resource background to something biomedical science, molecular biology. The way I have suffered, only God, only God knows how far I went to graduate. The two people who are speakers, they know my stories. But I was an excellent student in agriculture, and I feel like if I had pursued, continued that line, even with very limited, and they will tell you that mainly in the Europe, masters and PhD are independent job, independent work. The student has to do almost everything by themselves. I didn't know this. So when I transitioned and I have very limited background, it affected me a lot. I needed to do a lot to bridge the gap. So complete transitioning is not out of place, but it will require you a lot. And secondly, if you are looking for funding and scholarship, the potential employer wants to know that the person has the requisite or the prerequisite to survive in the lab and to do that work. So they will not go for somebody who has a very limited background to start a PhD in altogether a new field. In my case, what helped me was that even I was doing natural resource and environment, I took a course in parasitology where I met my supervisor who had some positions. And so I didn't even do my master's thesis in the natural resource field. I did it in parasitology with an aspect of molecular biology. And immediately I finished, we followed it up with my PhD. So it's not common to see people really transition from music background to what is appropriate to use to
Molecular biology.
molecular biology or nursing and stuff. It's rare. It will not happen. And even if it happens, you have to pay for the service. So that is something I want to bring to your attention. The I know that we all know about the proficiency letter and the English proficiency test, but I'm not going to talk about that. I will let the doc explain to you the difference. And then when you are looking at those requirements, look beyond English proficiency, because when they ask for English proficiency, they will take you to another page and then they will elaborate what they look out for in such instance. So I think Doc and Rhoda have some experiences on
Well,
that
I
segment.
think you have answered her actually. For the ones that are given to us by universities, there are some schools that will accept that, but mostly those that are very explicit, they tell you
The
the
test
kind of proficiency they want. They will name it, either
exactly
TOEFL or IELTS, and even give you the kind of marks
they
they
want.
want. Maybe speaking, you have to get maybe 7/10. Writing, you have to get 8/10. Listening, you have to get 9/10, in that order. So pay attention to the details and the kind of proficiency they are asking for, English proficiency they are asking for. It's not the ones that are issued to us by universities. That might be useful for other purposes. And indeed, for other universities,
Applications.
they accept that for
Yes.
applications.
Yes,
Yes.
that's correct. So there are universities, and because I'm in the study abroad business, I know more about it. There are some universities, they will say that if you had at least post-secondary education in English speaking country or English in an institution where the requirement, the medium of instruction is English, you are waived. And then even sometimes they go further to list the countries that are qualified for such category. And like he said, I am trying to apply for Stanford. The only reason why I have not applied to is that they want only TOEFL. I have IELTS. I have 7.0. I wrote it in April. For me to pay extra money to go and write TOEFL, bro, I'm still sitting here. So some institutions, like he said, are very specific on
Yeah.
what they want. So read detailed information about the English proficiency that they require and provide that as such. In your case, if the application require that you can just prove that you studied in English, then the letter is enough. But otherwise, you have to think about going back to review what the requirement is.
Dr. Martin, let me also chip in this before Rhoda comes in. So I think one of you also spoke about academic referees, those who provide references to support our applications.
Yeah, I did. I mentioned that. Yeah.
Yes, largely when I provide references to friends and colleagues and students who apply for further studies, I make a strong case for English as a medium of instruction for academic, studies in Ghana as part of the support, for this. For some of them, sometimes you can write for them to waive you off. There are waivers also in some of the institutions. If you are lucky, you may be waived off. Sometimes they also see the consistency in the whole application materials. And if your referees are making reference to the fact that your English speaking and writing is on point, and then the mode of instruction for academic work in Ghana is English and all that, it may give you some level of opportunity as well. For masters and PhD, whether you need to transition into doing same or not, it depends on you and what you want to do. For others, it works fine and it is okay. It is very okay. And for me, I think that even puts you at a certain level where you really get to understand what you do. They are not the same anyways. They are not the same, but maybe one could be a sequel to the other and then touch on other things. But sometimes we should also be very, very smart. And I give you an example. When I was going for my master's, my primary aim was to find myself in purely ethnomusicology. I got to Sibelius Academy and I realized that there are a lot of areas that are not even in Ghana in my field. So I quickly wrote to my rector that if there's the opportunity for me to diversify my choice of program, he said, yes, it's your study, you design it yourself. So I then concentrated more on music business and then arts management. And so I moved swiftly away from ethnomusicology, purely ethnomusicology, to an applied ethnomusicology. And that is why one of my PhDs is on cultural policy and one is purely on.
But Doc, these are very, very related. I mean, okay, so in terms of the topical area, yeah, but I mean, this is very related and I agree with you. In that case, then you are excellently right about what you are saying.
Yeah, I also wanted to give her example. So, for example, for my master's is in immunology. And then my PhD, I moved to, and for the immunology, my research was all on cancer immunotherapy. Our readouts for the experiment, the aims, how we look at the questions, everything is different, except that the scales are very the same. And then I moved to my PhD in diabetes and adipose tissue. Frankly speaking, I didn't even know that the adipose tissue was very important. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just something. And when I started, so the first year, as Enoch said, I really struggled a lot because I had to learn about the field. I have to learn the readouts, the experiments, have to relearn everything. But it was okay because it's still the field of science and they don't care my background. And now when I applied for the postdoc, when I went for the interview, they asked me no question about my diabetes background. It was all on my immunology. So I got this position and I'm on maternity leave. And before I went for maternity leave, my boss told me this work was designed for you because we don't have anybody in the field of metabolism and in the field of immunology to combine these ideas, So it also puts me at an advantage position. So if you want to, the field of science is very easy to look for different molecular sciences that you can branch to something else just for a bit, just to experiment and also see what is happening. And it's difficult, but you have to challenge yourself. And also, that's why we are talking about positioning yourself. So you have to think ahead for the future, where you want to be. and the field is very common. A lot of people are there. So what will make you very unique? So then, as Dr. Asari did, he did his research and he saw the lacking area. So for the next couple, before other people catch up, he would already have gone ahead and they will be learning from his papers, you know. So that is how you have to position yourself to make you very different in whichever place you want to be, especially in academia.
Thank you very much, Rhoda. We have 2 questions here in the chat. And Anna, I think after this, you can contact me. I completed a 3-year diploma in nursing and proceeded to do a 3-year bachelor's in nursing at the University of Ghana. I want to branch into public health to pursue master's. Please, what are my chances and which university offers scholarship opportunities for international applicants? I'm already finding it difficult and the school's application with the school applications. You are not diverting. It's a I have read several public health master's program where the requirements are actually including nurses, medical doctors, and then health researchers. So you are on the right track. You're on the right path. I have I have some nurses that I'm applying for masters for them with scholarship, and then some also with very affordable tuition fee. If you contact me, I can tell you more. Apart from public health, we also have global health where your background really qualifies you to be there. If you have experience in practicing nursing and you have some excellent grades, we can take the discussion further. So after here, um, contact me. I don't know how you're gonna contact me, but I will put my number out here and then you can contact me.
Enoch,
Yeah.
because she joined your webinar, so maybe I can give her an advice.
Okay,
So
please.
now a lot of people in nursing and even doctors, they are going to public health. So I want her to use this opportunity to think about why she wants to
Want
be
to
in
go there.
public health. Is it because everybody is going to public health, and what does she really want to do with this
With the public health.
public health? Because now there are lots of other opportunities in the
Even
field
in
of
the nursing,
nursing.
exactly.
Yes. So seize all the opportunity, because public health, frankly speaking, is very congested. So if you are not so much attached to it and you just want to do because you want to have a master's and you are flexible, then I'm sure Enoch can find other better opportunities. I'm not saying this is not better, but other opportunities that will make you stand out a bit, you know. So you might want to also consider that.
Okay, this guy left already, but he had a question. He said, "Great presentation and discussion. Please, I would like to know if age limit applies to PhD application and consideration for admission." It depends on where he wants to go. I think that in some cases and in some countries, they don't care how old you are, but in some jurisdiction or in some specific post, they specify the eligibility criteria. So it is your responsibility to read on the eligibility criteria of the program that you want to study to know that there is an age limit for or there is not an age limit for. There are several internships by the World Health Organization that I would have loved to join. They put category age limit 35, and I'm not able to join. If it was 10 years ago, probably I'll be joining, you know. So every application specified, but generally for like USA, Canada, and most cases, PhD studies, they don't cap it. They don't cap it. Maybe for funding, some of the requirement institutions might have a cap on age, but not much I know. Some of you, when you write the questions, you have to write in such a way that we can understand. Please, I had second class upper in African studies. Any help for masters? Contact me, Isaac Opoku. Contact me. I've put my number out there. If you are in the, let me tell you, if you joined from the beginning, all of us here, we have made over 150 applications put together. All of us here, each person has done over 150 applications for their master's studies. Now, when somebody contacts me to apply for masters for them or to help them with masters, you don't know I have to, sometimes the program you want to study, I have no information about it. Now I have to search and do all the diggings to find out that there are master's program for this, and with scholarship they are related, and this date and stuff. We have to do all these diggings for information. Anna, I have put my number in the chat. I think you can see it. So check it and then you can write me on WhatsApp. So it's a lot of work. And I think one of the ways by which we can help you people is organize these webinars so that you can learn the tips and do it yourself. And even if you need some technical advice, then it will not be too much work on a person. Because if I'm going to put even 5 applications for you, of which I know that by evaluating your credentials, you stand a higher chance of at least getting one, that is still a lot of work for me. And I will charge you for my services. And I know that a lot of you want this opportunity, but you cannot afford it. So make use of these webinars. Learn the important tricks and steps that the experienced people are sharing with you, and use them on your own. And if you want to consult somebody for help, it might be some technical helps, like, doc, can you check my CV for me? Can you check my motivation and stuff? If they are spending some few hours to do this, they might even do it for free or charge something later. But if you want them to search for schools for you, find out which scholarship you are fit for and stuff, all this is time. And if I work 1 hour here, I get a lot of money here. So if I have to spend 2 hours, 3 hours to do this search for you, and I charge you application fee, you will tell me the application fee is too much. And even if the application is not successful, you think that I have not done anything. Meanwhile, I have done a lot of background work, you know. So
Okay, Dr. Wati, let me chip in this. Since we are talking about applications for masters and PhDs, it's not far-fetched from also postdoc opportunities. I think for postdoc, it's much more competitive, extremely competitive, and mostly if you are not careful, you might give up along the way. Search for as many postdocs as possible. There are a lot of calls all over. Just a simple Google will give you a lot of calls, and then you look for which one fits your category, and then you begin to. But most of the times, don't wait till you see a call before you start developing your ideas or proposals. Write a proposal down. When you see a call, then you just have to
modify it.
modify what you have to fit into what they are expecting from you. That is very, very important. Again, for some of us who are, interested in postdocs because we already have the PhD, sometimes because of our ego, we are already doctors. And so we feel so big to approach this whole idea of peer review. It doesn't take anything away for you to give your proposal to a colleague to go through and point out certain things for you. Trust me, sometimes when you are doing your work, you think you are the most brilliant person. A third person views your work and points out certain things, then you are even shocked yourself that these are little mistakes I could avoid. But then you see them. So peer review is very, very important. And then never fear rejections. It's part of the whole process. Whether you like it or not, some of your applications will be rejected. And
for sure.
I give you a typical example. When I completed my PhD together with my colleagues, I think we were 4. We all applied for AHP, fellowship, African Humanities Program fellowship. And then we have peers around who are seniors to us. And so they all reviewed our applications. And so when we met, they were all like, it must ask for you this application there. Because they were also recipients of the same, postdoc opportunity. This one day, you get it. To my surprise, the 3 of them got it. I didn't get it. And then there was another call. And I just modified the same proposal, modified it to suit this score. And guess what? They picked me, and my postdoc was for 3 years, whilst my colleagues got 1 year. And the money was the same. So I was enjoying the money for 3 years. They enjoyed it for 1 year. So if I had been demotivated by the rejection, perhaps I wouldn't have tried for the second one that came. So never fear rejections. It's part of the process. It actually gives you the opportunity to rethink and restructure a lot of things in your proposals.
There are some tips in the comment section. Please read them and make good use of them. They are coming from Rhoda. I will add to Dr. Sari's points that the networking, you should also try to build yourself in such a way that you can attend conferences which thematic areas are within your scope. There you meet high-profile people who talk, and during such conferences, they also advertise for postdoc positions and even PhD positions. So right from the word go, have this information at the back of your mind whenever there is opportunity for you to attend international academic conferences. Make good use of them. If you are here and you are aspiring to be academia, I think one of the platforms you should be introduced to already, if you are not already there, is LinkedIn. Have a very nice prepared profile and put yourself out there. Over there, you can subscribe to, for example, you can write postdoc positions in this area. And once you subscribe, they will keep updating you with postdoc opportunities around the world. You can select the countries of interest or the geographical location of interest, the topic or subject of interest, and they will provide information on this with you. And also you can interact with professionals there. You can connect with professionals, and some people, they are always advertising positions in their lab through LinkedIn. So this is one way of finding such opportunities. And if you are going to use LinkedIn, you must learn to build your LinkedIn professionally, that sometimes you don't have to contact recruiters, they have to contact you. You have to be clear and precise with the skills you have, what you can bring on board, your experiences and stuff. I have had several recruiters contacted me for positions in the USA. Unfortunately, at the time I had set my location to Texas because I was in Texas, right? And once we start the discussion and the offer comes and they find out that I don't have US documents, and some of these positions are not sponsoring visa, then the discussion ends there. But I'm just saying that these are platforms, or these are some of the ways you can build yourself adequately to attract such opportunities. So
And I also got a lot of positions. For me, I used a lot of Twitter. So in Twitter, you see that people who have current publication, they share the link and you meet all the professors on individual level. So you can just target the people in the field that you want. You follow them everywhere and you like their post, and you can write comment under their post. Oh, nice paper. Looking forward to it.
reading the next
And
one and stuff.
so the next time when I needed opportunity, I started writing to some of the professors, and I got positive um, response from them because they can also see that I follow them and all that. So I think there are a lot of opportunities we can tap into. Yeah.
From this social medias and professional sites. Okay.
Exactly. And as we are talking about social media, you can also maybe organize a webinar, because I remember I attended a lot of webinar on how to use Facebook. That is why for some time now I limited who can see all my pictures. So I realized that most of the jobs that I had applied for in terms of PhD postdocs, they were going back to my Facebook to see what I do there, what you write there. So some people have two Facebook, one professional and one unprofessional. So then I signed for a webinar where there was this woman who taught us how to really use Facebook, and we have options. You can limit who can see your pictures and who can see which profile you have on Facebook. It's a social ground and you take it for granted, but the moment we test your name and you have no publication, the first thing that pops out will be your Facebook profile.
Yeah, and that is true because even in my lab, there were people who criticized me for the fact that I was posting some things on Facebook and they felt like I'm not even serious academically, even though I have finished my studies over all those people. But this is how the impression they got about me because of my frequent use of Facebook and some posts that are humorous, that are supposed to be humorous. And I felt like life should not be all about academics and PhD and how they thought it should be. But what I'm thinking is that if they were in a position to decide my success or my uh, admission into PhD studies just based on my Facebook information, they wouldn't give me the chance. But I have successfully finished even amidst their judgment. So I agree with what Rhoda is saying that sometimes restricting these accesses and stuff is okay. We will have a discussion about that and see if it's something we can organize a webinar on. I'm trying to use this platform once more to help people learn the the skills that we do not get in the classroom, right? The things that people can only gain through their experiences. And so I really collaborate with a lot of experienced people in specific fields on a specific topic area to bring them on board to talk to us. I have experiences myself, but my experiences can be quite limited also. So I feel like it's a great opportunity to learn things that the traditional academic career or path will not offer us in the classroom. And so I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to always subscribe and make time to attend. Maybe in subsequent meetings, we will try to shorten our time, but I can see that our number was between 21, 23, and now we have 21. So it has been quite interesting discussion, and that's why we have retained a good number of people. I will share the recorded version on my YouTube. And so if you forget something along the line and you want to make reference, you can go back, take your pen and paper and make notes that will help you in your future endeavors. On this note, I want to oh, okay, Abigail, just one last time and then we can end.
Thank you very much for the presentation and for the opportunity given us to learn more. I just wanted to say hi to Rhoda. I know her personally, and maybe she doesn't know me, but I know her. At
So show your
Can I
video.
see your
Show your
face?
video.
Oh, oh, okay. I'm coming. No, she doesn't know me. I doubt she knows me. Maybe I was at Ola. And I fellowship at Barian.
Viren.
Yeah.
Contact Rhoda through me. If you
All
want to
right, I
contact
will.
Rhoda, I have put out my number there. Contact her through me. She is my
All
partner.
right, I will. I will. I will.
I
I
mean,
will. Thank you
somebody
very
asked
much.
that question. Anna asked that question. So that's why I said you should contact Rhoda through me.
All right, thank you
And
very
also
much.
the KGSP is coming. There's the Korean Government Scholarship Program. Each year they give 15 students from Ghana. So 4 people from the embassy and the others is through the university. So you can also contact Enoch if you are interested. And the opening is from February and it ends February 28th. So you don't have a lot of time. So you can contact Enoch and then he can give you the details and I will share the link because I'm an alumni, so I have the links and I can share with him to for people who might be interested and he can help you out. Yeah.
And what Dr. Asari said that I want to reemphasize is that he even said have a template proposal that you can always modify. What I would say is that have all documents already prepared. As soon as you conceive the idea of wanting to study master's, PhD, whatever abroad in Ghana, make sure you organize all the necessary documents, at least the general one, and then later you will save them to use the specific ones required by various institutions for your application. Don't wait until it's about 2 weeks for admission deadline, and you contact somebody to apply for school for you and stuff. The person cannot perform magic to get all those things. Gideon, I Ajande. Please mute yourself.
Okay, Dr. Boatin, let me acknowledge some of my colleagues who joined us for tonight. Dr. Evelyn Ajande is here. Doc, thanks for joining us. And Dr. Felix Amwanin has also joined us. And where is Wendy? I saw Wendy.
Wendy started earlier. Wendy was the first person to join.
Yes, she's also one of my colleagues and my student, PhD student. She will soon be done.
Oh,
And,
okay. They said I should drop my YouTube channel. Okay, let me look for it, the link.
and then Esther Maoli is also here. Quite a number of them that I can't mention. And I can see Sister Rahel Ofori also.
Rahel just joined because I think she was a bit busy.
Okay.
But yeah, that's great.
So let's keep the conversations going. If there is anything, I'm always available to share, and then we can exchange ideas together. So thank you all very much.
Dr. Sari, do you also can I link some people to, if do you have experience in the field of arts?
Yes, he does.
No, I mean this what's the name? It's not the music, this kind of what do they call it? Industrial. In Ghana we call it master,
Give an example.
as in secondary school we have this, the artist too, the other one.
General art and visual art.
Visual arts.
Oh, yes, that is not my area, but I can link
Okay.
up with some other colleagues who can be of help. When I was in South Africa, I stayed with a professor who is a visual artist, and I'm a performing artist.
Okay.
Yeah, you are performing art, exactly.
The work is kind of related, but quite different also. But I can link you up with people with expertise in visual arts also.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so please, I have put my YouTube channel where all our webinar recordings will go to. Already, I shared the link to the webinar on the CV writing.